Eve Kukundakwe has for the last 2 years been ailing with a stroke. She has no money to seek better treatment. Together with her husband, they're choking on debt. This creeping depression continues to tear her apart.
I didn't even know where it was, but I just accepted because I thought he was going to get money. I went to the banks, got some money using the school, like security. So he got the money, he went and worked. After that, I waited for him to bring the money and he paid back the bank. After some time, that's when he told me that he was not paid. Then the banks advertised the home and the school. So I was seeing myself as if I'm now nothing. Now the school was in the papers.
Her husband, Kenneth Mriamenta, is part of the 212 contractors who got sucked into a bogus deal with Agape Sanctuary Ministries International in 2017 to build churches, schools and hospitals. Mriamenta, who is currently demanding over 200 million shillings, built a church in Kashare Omkabade in Imbarara district. 4 years after roofing the church, he is yet to be paid.
We got to some loans, we had to pay the loans, and even now if you calculate the money, if it was to be paid in 2017 and yet this is 2021, a period of 4 years is very far. If you calculate the way, if the bank would be charging at least 3% per month, and now you count the duration of those months up to today, it would be a lot of money.
His house and school that was being managed by his wife as the headmistress are on the verge of being foreclosed by the bank. Mriamenta's story is not any different from that of Yona Waswa, the managing director of Century Frontiers, who on 24 September 2018 signed a contract with Agape to construct a church at Katenjeto, Ishongororo sub-county in Ibanda district, valued at 426 million shillings. Waswa, a blind engineer, is now shackled by debt that he has lost all his property. Agape Sanctuary Ministries International is a worldwide Christian organization having various ministries such as Agape Church International and Agape Evangelism. Over 300 churches in Uganda subscribe to this faith that is run by a maverick Mande Wilson Bwambale. Agape has a number of churches across the region, including Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, and South Sudan. In June this year, the NGO Bureau rebuked the license of 6 NGOs, including Agape, for alleged involvement in forgery of documents and defrauding contractors.
Because of their fraudulent nature, we have also decided that we need to blacklist this organization because it has already extorted a lot of money from people and it has to be stopped by all authorities wherever they're operating.
In 2016, the church entered into a partnership with the Daniel Africa Project that was founded by Joel Engel, a Brazilian evangelist. John Kahonde, an administrator at the church, says the organization had an ambitious plan to construct 200 churches, 50 schools and 10 hospitals, which was part of a $500 billion expansion program across the world. When this phantom project was dangled to contractors in Uganda, it appeared too attractive to ignore.
Records show that 212 contracts were given out during that period. And of these, 133 churches started. Some contractors started. The rest failed, 90 something failed to start. Then 27 schools were contracted out, and of these only 8 started. So that is a period. Now 8 hospitals were contracted, but none of them started. Yeah. In fact, there were 7 hospitals, including the referral one, which was going to be built in Arua. So all that project, all that did not start.
Little is known about the donor, Joel Engel, but there are reports that he was allegedly arrested in Brazil for fraud. In 2016, Engel came to Uganda and launched the first phase of this major project at Muganzi Raza at a low-key event. In 2017, he returned to launch the second phase of this mega project at the Mandela National Stadium Nambole amid pomp and fanfare. But during the launch, what could have foretold the trouble that lay ahead is when a group of contractors, including Sam from Tanzania and Rwanda, stormed the venue demanding full payment. Agape claims that this incident and others that followed is partly to blame for delays in payment.
The donors were asking what was the motive of these people trying to harass us and what, whereas we had come to verify their work. Are you sure these people did the work? So we constituted a team as Agape. Let's go and verify first and see what is going on the ground and the rest.
So why haven't the contractors been paid even after executing their contractual obligations?
When we went to the ground, okay, some of these things were shocking. Some of these people did not do. Others did substandard work. Others did not do. Others have fake. That's when we came to know that others have fake contracts.
The Secretary General of the contractors' umbrella body, Godson Turiatemba, has demanded that the church pays genuine contractors.
Instead of tossing us here and here, let them come out clearly, tell us contractors, we conned you. We don't have your money. So that contractors can know there is no money, there is no more hope. If a person is able to sell his properties, he sells and pays off the what? The debtors, rather than keeping false hope within contractors.
According to Turiatemba, 2 of their colleagues who were contracted to build churches have died as a result of depression induced by debts, while others are languishing in prison.
I was in prison for 3 days in Muvuku prison because of demanding. They were demanding me 29 million. So I decided to say that instead of suffering, let me give out my house and then I become free.
Even myself, I sold one of my buildings in a trading center at Chisinga because the pressure was too much.
It's unfortunate that some cases are more severe. For example, we've lost so far over 2 contractors because of that pressure. One in Kasese and another one is in Mbale. We've got our colleague, Mr. Kenneth, whose wife got paralyzed because of the news that his school was being advertised by the bank. She got paralyzed since then, since 2019 or 18. She's not yet up today. We've gotten cases of other contractors, for example, Dixon, whose house was taken. We've got cases of people like Arongoti, the former chairman LC5 Katakwi, whose houses were taken.
NTV visited the home of Yosia Rugarama, who passed on in July this year in West Wera, Kasese district. A palpable sense of grief envelops the family home.
This is where the guy was buried. This is where he was buried. Yes. When was he buried?
Yosia, they believe, would be alive if Agape had paid him. The contractors, according to copies of contracts seen by NTV, were to be paid in installments. The first payment was to be made when the project was at the wall plate level. The second payment was to be made at the roofing, and the last payment would be made after furniture and fittings. In 2018, local media reported that Pruta's Construction and Vocation Training Center Uganda Limited filed a suit at the Commercial Court Division accusing Agape Ministries of breaching a contract and sought specific performance to pay 198.4 million shillings for the first construction of a church and 222.6 million shillings as auxiliary expense. The case was dismissed by the then DPP after the leaders of Agape claimed that they would pay the contractors. Many of the contractors have accused government authorities, including police, of conniving with the church to defraud them. However, Charles Twine, the CID spokesperson, says the matter is of a civil nature. He says with hindsight, the contractors ought to have taken due diligence.
I want to encourage Ugandans, especially the business community, like these contractors, that they ought to do due diligence. It's not a matter of rushing to do business. If somebody comes, first look at the offer. What offer is he giving? What kind of establishment does he have here in Uganda? In an event of a breach of an agreement, where is your fallback position? Because I can tell you, if the Ugandan contractors had done due diligence, probably it would be a different story.
But how then did they acquire these contracts?
Making adverts in the church. It wasn't in the papers. It was by church. I had one of our body member of the school was part of the Agape. So she's the one who came here and told us, now please, we know you do construction works. Can you come and I take you where projects are? Yeah? Even they were convincing me that I could give them land. Yeah? A small piece of land, they constructed the church. I said, we shall first study about it.
Kahunde says there is hope that the donor will release the funds and contractors will be paid if the organization's suspension is lifted.
In June 2019, our boss was called again.
To go to Brazil?
No, this time he did not go to Brazil, he went to Dubai. Then he went there, then they made a fresh understanding now.
To pay the money?
Yeah, to pay the money. That they're going to pay them and what. So they agreed all the modalities. And in written, it is there.
The contractors, however, accused the church of trying to hoodwink them as a strategy to get back in business.
Of recent, they met the chairman of contractors at Mana Hotel in Indeba, and they were promising him heaven and earth. You see, the donor has promised to pay the $3 million, which is equivalent around 11 billions. But the challenge is we don't have license. So they want to use the contractors to get the license back and maybe move on with their, unforeseen jobs.
Both the contractors and Agape Church are requesting for the intervention of the president if the current crisis is to be resolved.
$70 million. If this had come into this country, VAT on 18% is about 30 million. All this will be going to the coffers of the government. So the project is very good, but somewhere, some people. So we tried to appeal to offices. Yes, some were going to help us. That's when COVID came, what. But we still hope if they can hear us.
Jewel angels are Brazilians. So now it is a country versus what? A country. You don't expect a subcontractor or a contractor from Kasese, from Bundubuju to move up to Brazil to find out whether there is existence of what? Jewel angels. Secondly, jewel angels were foreigners. How then did foreigners enter a country like Uganda start conning contractors at the expense of a country? That's why I'm requesting the government to intervene.
Well, this latest dispute gives a glaring portrayal of how authorities do not scrutinize organizations that purport to undertake charity work and briefcase companies that pretend to invest in multi-billion-dollar projects. With such laxity, many more citizens will continue to be conned. Rita Kamigisa, NTV Panorama.